What is up, everybody? It's Dr. Vibe here, host and producer of the award-winning Dr. Vibe Show. As always, I like to say you're blessed, highly favored, a magnet for miracles, and a solution for someone's problem. Know that I'm a certified empowerment coach, president and CEO of Express Your Vibe Coaching and Communications. And we are very happy to have back Janice Robinson-Celeste, and it's a celebration day.
Yes.
It's a big celebration day, and she is the force of Successful Black Parenting Magazine. And I was looking at my Twitter feed today, and I went, "Wow, this is good. We're going to be celebrating before we get to our main subject tonight." So, Janice, two things. First of all, well, three things. Thanks for taking time out of your positive, productive schedule. Second of all, I'd like you to share a little bit of background about yourself, because you've been on before, and if people want a more extensive background, they can look there. And third of all, share the wonderful news that you shared on Twitter today. So a lot to pack in, but I know you can do it.
Yeah, okay. Well, I am one of the publishers of Successful Black Parenting Magazine. We started off as a print publication back in the 90s. We went out of business for almost 23 years, and then we just bought it back 2 years ago. It's online only, and we're working up to phase 3, which is actually going back to our print publication as we build followers. So if you're listening, please make sure you follow us on all the social media. We're at Black Parenting 1 on Twitter, on Instagram, on Facebook. We're just trying to build as many followers as possible so that we are a force to be reckoned with in the industry and with advertisers. I have a background in early childhood education. I have a background in teaching high school students. I've taught as a professor at Hofstra University. My background has always been parents, children, and communications. So I'm also a mom of 3 and a grandmom of 2, and about to be a grandma of 2 more.
Whoa!
One due any day now, and another one is due in into December. And they are both the first boys that will be in this family in a very long time. So we're excited about the arrival of 2 little boys from both of my daughters. So I've raised my daughters. They're all very successful in their own right. Very proud of them, and they're great moms. So everything I learned and went through trial and error down to my education, I try to put into this publication to grow it, because eventually I just want to be the person in it that oversees everything. Eventually I'll have an editor and all those great people working for me and working with me, because as I get older, there's new things that come out that I really want to have that youth perspective of a young mom. But I'm working toward building that, and I'm hoping that everybody out there supports me. Speaking of support, we just won 2 fabulous awards by FeedSpot, and the first one was we were number 3 of the top 10 blogs for Black parents out there. So we were listed as number 3, and we just really launched. So that's an amazing honor in itself. But then a few days later, they also gave us the award as one of the top parenting magazines. Out of 20, we were number 11. We were with some of the big boys. So I really appreciate the recognition, because, we worked really, really hard to try to stay on the cusp of what is important to our parents, and to bring that out as fast as we can with limited resources.
Well, you know what? I remember the first time that you were on the Dr. Vibe Show, you said, "I'm gonna work at my social media stuff. I'm gonna work. I remember you saying that, and I said, "She is gonna go at it." And you looked at me straight on in the camera, and you were very much intent was there. So you are reaping the benefits of hard work.
Thank you. We did have to take a break for a minute there. We moved from Florida to Los Angeles.
Yeah,
that was a huge move. Huge move.
Are you able to share with us why the move from Florida to the left coast?
Yes, family.
Okay.
That's it. We're all about family. So I have family out here, and like I said, my daughter's expecting another baby, so we came out here to help them out, and they helped us to get out here too. So that was their idea, so that was great. And if it was me, we would have a family compound with everyone together, because I really just love my family, and being around them is nothing better. So, but this is as close as I could get to it. So of course I said yes. we packed everything up and we're out here in LA and enjoying this wonderful California weather.
Do you miss Florida at all?
Oh, I will always miss Florida. Florida has my heart captured. It's like, oh, yes, I definitely miss Florida a lot. But it's a different type of environment out here, like whole different character to California. They have their own way of doing things, and I'm getting used to it. I'm getting used to it. It's a little bit different. Still have my palm trees, though. I always said palm trees over pine trees for me. So I'm very happy. I'm very happy with that. And not too far from the beach. We're not too far.
Well, this is great. What was the feeling when you heard you received those two great pieces of news? Where were you, and what was your reaction? Like the first one, but then the second one. So just share with us, because I love when people get a chance to share celebrating success based on hard work.
Well, I was in my living room on my laptop, and the first time, my reaction was exactly this: get out of here. Because I'm always just surprised. But I'm like, wow, really? And I was just so excited. I couldn't wait to share it with everyone on social media. And then when they came out a few days later with the award for the top parenting magazine, I was like, wow, this is really an honor. It's great. I was also in my living room at the time. First, I thought it was the same award. And I was like, wait a minute, we already got this email. And then I was like, wait a minute, this is something different. And it was just so exciting to see that we got another award from them, and that they thought about us, even to include us with anyone at this point. But our growing stages, we're just still crawling, trying to walk, and hopefully soon we'll run. That I'm really honored, and it's motivation to just keep doing what you're doing. My readers motivate us every day with their stories and their comments, and just support. And that is the number one motivator. But when you get people who aren't even involved really in the publication with reading it or understanding the culture, and they support you, that's something. That's like, I'm always surprised about that for some reason, but I'm like, thank you. I'm so happy that they see the positivity and the need for the actual magazine and how it helps people.
Just one final thing about these two wonderful awards. Was this something you had to apply to, or did they just seek your magazine out? Was this a process involved at all?
No, we had no idea. They found us, so we didn't know. Like, I'm not one for entering contests too often. I might do it once in a while because I don't like to lose.
Yes, we know you're very tenacious.
So, I'm not that person, so I don't like to do that. But once in a while, I will, if I feel like it's right up our alley or the description describes us perfectly. I may, but I really, So they found us.
Wow. Well, congratulations again.
Thank you.
Let's get to our main topic of an epic conversation tonight. Depending where you are in the world watching this, either live or on the replay, school is started or about to start. And I thought no better person in the Dr. Vibe show community to talk about this than Janice. And I planned this before I knew she was going to get 2 awards, but just adds positive value in regards to parenting, and especially children of color. And Janet has been on both sides. You've heard that she's been a parent, and she also shared how she's been part of the education system. So what we're going to do tonight is, just have her address some questions I'm going to give her in regards to how to handle the upcoming school year or the current school year. First off, I guess from a parent's perspective, one of the questions I think parents should ask is, what's the best way for them, what should they buy for their children for going back to school? Because when you and I went to school, supplies were bought, etc. It isn't the cost that it is now. Obviously, times have changed. Can you provide us your input from a parent's perspective?
Well, I can kind of be on the defense of parent and teacher with this one, because every teacher has their school supply list, right? So I would go first by those lists, right? And then I would combine them, see which ones you can save some money on, because a lot will ask for the same things like pencils, loose leaf paper, that sort of thing. But I would go by the list and a lot of times they're online too, the list. So if you want to save yourself some time, if they're all online, order your stuff from Staples and go pick it up. You know, you don't want to have to fight with line and back to school stuff. So that's one little hack right there. Just go ahead and order it online. But I would start with those lists. Now, as a teacher, I'm going to tell you, because your teacher more than likely has spent a good portion of her salary trying to make sure she has extra things there for your children, like extra pencils and things like that as well. So if you have the means, pick up some extra supplies and just give them to the teacher, because she's going to know which students will need them the most, which students are in need. If you want you to really help her out, you can buy her like a box of tissues. Like if every parent bought a box of tissues, because your children are going to be using those tissues. And she sometimes can't afford tissues, but she tries to make sure that they have them because, of course, she wants to keep the classroom germ-free. Things like hand sanitizer in bulk or refills, the big giant ones. Those are the kind of things teachers need for their classroom. So if you have the means, please, by all means, help out the teacher, because if you know, most teachers are living below the poverty level. Like they can't be really heads of households, and make a good living. It's just really, the salaries in most places are pretty bad. So any help they can get is great if you can. If you can't, we get it. But if you can't, there are things like back to school types of mobiles that come around. They have backpacks that they give away. There's so many giveaways during back to school time. Just Google it, look up your area, look on the event calendars, ask the principal. They all know when these free school supplies are given out. So if you can't afford it, there are so many places, and I've seen a lot as a teacher, but parents might not know about it, but you have to open your mouth and ask. You have to ask, and if you ask, you will find them. Sometimes the giveaways have so much stuff, they have stuff left over for the next year. So make sure you ask that question.
A number of things that you brought up there that I'd like you to delve deeper about. Back when I was going to school, and probably you too, teachers didn't have to spend money out of their own pocket for supplies. And this always boggles my mind, because we've spoken before about teacher salaries aren't that great, and they're taking money out of their own pocket to spend on supplies. I'd like to get your take on that whole thought process, because I don't think that's right. I don't know what you think.
I think teachers have always came out of their pocket to buy things for their students, or to give things, even down to their lunch. I've had students beg, "Are you going to eat that banana? Are you going to? Do you have crackers today?" Because they knew I always bring crackers every day. And you give away your stuff because you don't know if that child's going to eat today. So how do you turn them away? I think the only time I turned a child away one time was because I was on a diet and I had diet food, and I was like, "I'm hungry." You cannot have my food today, but I will buy you something. So it was that kind of a deal. But yeah, so that's when you're on a diet, you're not trying to give up your food, you're kind of growling over it. But yeah, I think it's been a long-term thing, because if you look at the history of teachers, you had the one-room schoolhouse, you had the school mom, right? And she wasn't even paid a salary, she had a stipend. They would provide a room for her somewhere to stay. And then the parents would invite her over every day for dinner, like a different parent. It would just rotate, and that's how she ate. If they didn't invite her over to dinner, she didn't have food because she didn't have money for food. So it's expected that parents would invite the teacher over, because there's only one teacher. She wasn't allowed to marry. She had a stipend that was not much. I mean, I think it was like maybe $300 for the year or something like that. It wasn't expected for her to be the head of a household as a teacher. Now, fast forward to today, you have men that are teachers, which wasn't how it was originally set up. You have women as heads of households that are teachers. And like in the 50s, if you happen to be, or 60s, you happen to be a teacher, you were married to the head of the household. So that's how you made a living. And that's how you managed on that salary. But today, we have lots of heads of households that are female, that are single parents, with no one they're married to. We have the same thing, there are men with children that are single heads of households with children. You can't really afford to be the head of a household on a teacher's salary. You have teachers on welfare, and that shouldn't be. But this is how a lot of people are getting by. Like the adjunct professors, there was a whole documentary that came out about how many are on welfare or homeless. For universities are making tons of money, and they have adjunct professors they're relying on as part-time employees to save that money. They don't want to pay out, but they are homeless or suffering or on welfare or all of the above.
So true. And also, and Janice brings up a very relevant point. There are a lot of organizations that give backpack giveaways. One of where I call my home during the daytime, two different groups have done backpack giveaways, and they've been doing it for years, and they're very, very popular. So Google in your area backpack giveaways. I'm sure you'll find something. If not, contact me or contact Janice. She's in the US, I'm in Canada. I'm sure we can help you out with that. You bring up another interesting point to being a single parent approaching the school year versus two parents approaching a school year. Can you shed some light on that? Because there's a lot of single parents out there, and what questions they need to be asking their kids. I think parents in general, what questions should they be asking their kids before they start a new school year?
Well, those are kind of two different questions, because if you start with the single parent issue,
yep.
The whole thing was, and I was one for a while, the single parent is tired. They're working constantly, trying to make ends meet. It's very difficult for a single parent to attend meetings at schools, to be involved as much as they would like to in school events and things like that, or to keep in touch with the teacher even. It used to be more so than it is now. So the things I suggest with that is to make initial contact with every teacher. You need to do that. And you don't have to do it in person. Most teachers have emails that you can contact them with. And I would ask them if they would mind FaceTiming you at least once a month. I would say every 2 weeks, but at least once a month, to check in on your child. And you have to be proactive, put in your calendar to check with the teacher. That way, even if your child's getting straight A's, just to make sure they are on the right track and there's no issues, no problems, even if it's a 2-second phone call where she just says, no, your child's great, I think she's wonderful, and you're like, oh, thank you very much, I'm going to call you back next month and make sure everything's still on track. Use FaceTime, use Skype, use those types of things to talk to the teacher. You can't come in necessarily and have dinner with you like they used to do when it was the school mom in the one-room schoolhouse, but you can invite them in by doing a FaceTime call. And a lot of teachers have computers just like we're on right now, and they can do it right from there. So, and I say that because some teachers don't want to give out their personal phone numbers to do those types of things. And you don't have to with Skype, and you don't have to because a lot of them have computers, whether it's a laptop provided by the school or a desktop provided by the school. So that was the first question. And so the second question is, what should you be asking your children? Well, as we know, we always say, oh, how was school today? All right. What did you do at school today? Nothing. So those kind of questions tend to yield those types of answers. So start asking questions like, open-ended questions like, okay, well, I see you had, I know you had math today. What did you learn in math? Did they say nothing? Say, well, let me see your book. Let me see what you're looking at. Let me see your syllabus. Let's talk about this. Do you know what a quadrilateral is? Do you know what that is? And they'd be like, no. Okay, then that's what you're supposed to be studying. So let's look at that. So that's how you keep them from telling you nothing is happening. Or ask them another type of question like, what did you like most about school today? Oh, I didn't like anything. What did you hate about school today? So either one has to have an answer. What happened? What don't you like about school? Who's your favorite teacher? Why is that teacher your favorite? And who's the one that you don't like? And why is it that you don't like that teacher? Those are really important questions because, as you know, even in the news today, there was a whole scandal about teachers, touching kids inappropriately, and we can go into more. But that's basically, if you are talking to your child every day and finding out what's going on, you're asking the right questions. Well, why do you like that teacher more? Why do you hate that teacher even more? What's going on? That's how you can find out, like, if anything is not kosher, not sitting well with you or the kid. So it's really important to do that.
So how soon should parents make that initial contact with the teacher, whether it's via phone, whether it's email, whether it's face-to-face? How soon do you suggest they should make contact with that teacher?
Oh, the first week, because it can be a month before you have an open house
Yep.
at a school, depending on the school. So I would, as soon as I know the teacher's name, know that my child's going to stay in their classroom. Sometimes they play musical chairs with rosters and things like that. As soon as I know that first week that they're going to be there, you're going to hear from me, and I'm going to let you know that I'm involved in my child's education, that I'm concerned about my child's education, and if there is a problem, you will hear from me, and that I expect my child to have a certain grade.
Excellent. Is there any need at the same time to introduce yourself to the principal, or just keep it at the teacher level?
Well, sometimes the principal is hard. They're hard to reach because they're all over the place.
Right.
They're in such a high demand. If it's a small town, if it's a small area, it's going to be easier to talk to the principal than in a big city or a big school district. The principal can bounce from the school district to the state capital to the school. It can be really difficult to find them in the school. So if you can go to the open house or an event like that, you will be able to more than likely meet your principal in a setting where you have this captive attention. They have so much going on, but there's absolutely nothing wrong with letting the principal know who you are as well.
Good. Also, from a parental standpoint, how important is it to have a schedule, a daily schedule set too? Because summer's coming to an end. It was a very, easy, not as not flexible, could do a lot of things, but importance of speaking to your child. I was speaking with a father the other day, and he said he was going to speak to his kids this weekend, saying, "This is what I'm expecting. This amount of hours of homework each week, etc., etc." Is that also an important thing to address with the kids before they go back to school?
Oh, absolutely. There has to be a schedule. See, what children don't know is that they're creatures of habit and that they need that consistency and that repetition. They don't know that. We know this from research and studies that they actually crave it, but they don't know it. So if you set up a schedule, it helps them to know what's happening next, which helps them feel secure. And that's all part of child development. It's very important that you have that schedule set, and it's not willy-nilly, and then you'll find that you'll have better results with their grades if they know what they're expected to do and what's going to be next. That's really important. That's really, really essential for a parent to set up.
And how important, because more and more there are daycares, and I know you have experience in daycare, parents making sure they have a solid relationship with the daycare that their child or children are in. How important is that to make sure that gets off on a good start?
Oh, even more so, because a lot of those children are too young to speak for themselves. So you need to be present. You need to know the director really well. And if anything goes wrong, you need to make sure your voice is heard. I've seen great daycares. I've seen horrible daycare centers. I really do like the daycare centers that let you watch your children from the internet, like they have cameras that are in all angles, because that's, I think, just transparency at its best. To have cameras, teachers know the cameras are on them, and you can see your child and monitor them. It's kind of a security net feeling for parents to have that. I really am a proponent for daycares that have cameras for parents. But you definitely need to know all of the teachers your child deals with and the director, and make sure that if anything happens, they need to know your face and see that you're serious about your child, so that she doesn't fall or he doesn't fall through the cracks.
Great. I'm going to flip it on to a teacher's perspective now. What are best suggestions or best practices for teachers going into a new year?
Oh, okay. Well, best practice depends on what type of teacher you are, what grade level you teach. But all teachers need to go in with a great attitude, motivated to reach each child, even though we know that you can't always reach every child, but the motivation to go in to do so. To make class and learning fun, hands-on as possible, and keep the interest of children. The worst teachers I've ever seen were the ones that sit at their desk and assign chapters and don't move. They just don't move. They just sit at their desk and you read from the book and you get a homework sheet and that's it. And they have it down to like a well-oiled machine, but it doesn't really work for the children. It works for them because that's what happens when you don't pay people enough. They don't give enough. Do you understand what I'm saying? They're not motivated to do more. So what happens is the first, second year, they get their whole curriculum set up so it runs like a well-oiled machine for them, but it's not necessarily the best for the child. So I just highly suggest that when a teacher goes in, if you want to be a great teacher, you want to be what they call a highly effective teacher, to go in with not only a positive attitude for the new year. And I know it's hard because a lot of teachers get burnt out after the second, third year. They already get burned out. It's probably one of the most disrespected jobs that a person can have.
Yep.
I mean, depending on the level and even younger, you can get cursed out on a daily basis. You can be called all kinds of names. I had kids take the chain off my bike tire when I was biking to school just as a prank, But it is like the most disrespected job, even if you're the nicest teacher. No one cares. I know one teacher that was across the hall from me had her wig snatched off her head.
What?
So it's hard. It's not easy. Wow. Profession to be in. It's not for everyone.
No, it
but
isn't.
Definitely if you're going to be there to influence at least that one person. It's that starfish poem. Basically, you try to help as many as you can. That's what you're there for.
Wow. You've mentioned some things about the teaching profession. I know you're very passionate about the teaching profession. How has it got? You've mentioned the pay isn't great. You mentioned, has it become more? What else has made it more challenging over the years? Because we are coming to a new school year, and I want parents to watch and listen to this so they get an understanding of what the teacher is dealing with at the beginning of a school year, so they hopefully have a better understanding. So how has the profession become more challenging over the years?
Well, I think a lot of teachers would agree that it's not always the students that make it frustrating, but the administration and all of the paperwork that you're expected to do when you don't have any free time to do it. So for instance, you're supposed to have an hour planning time, so you don't have to do it on your own time, right, as a teacher. But the school districts have found a way around that by saying, come in an hour early before school, that's your planning time. Now, most teachers know and parents know they drop their kids off early, right, because they got to go to work. So you end up having kids in your classroom or hanging outside your hall door making a lot of noise. So therefore, you really don't get a lot done. And God forbid, you have that famous faculty meeting in the morning. That takes away from your planning time. So you really don't have planning time. So you end up doing a lot of work at home, marking papers, which is a pain and a chore. And thank God they're starting to go more to online types of marking and testing. But then again, on top of that, you're expected to test children outside of your expertise area. So if you're not an English teacher, you may be proctoring a test during testing periods, which happens, where I was, at least 4 times to 6 times a year. You're for like a week or a couple of days, depending on how long. And you're proctoring English or math, and you're not an English or math teacher. So you get frustrated because you're like, why do I have to do this? This is not even my expertise. Probably because they don't have enough English and math teachers in the whole school to do it. But you find yourself out of your area out of your comfort zone of what you teach. And then you have a lot of paperwork involved with that. So all of the paperwork, I can tell you one of my biggest frustrations for the day would be that they would administration expect me to check my email. I would have so many emails coming through, and I'm like, when am I supposed to check these? On my lunch break, which is 20 minutes long, So I have a 20-minute lunch break. I have no planning period. Now, 20 minutes, by the time I get my lunch, God forbid if I have to go to the faculty refrigerator or to the vending machine, and then somebody stops me to ask me about something, or a student stops me on my way back, I don't have a lunch. So you can see why now the perks of being a teacher starts to dwindle. And people always say, okay, well, you're going to have summers off. We we live for summer lessons. We need it because otherwise we wouldn't be able to recharge.
Exactly.
It's such an intense profession. And, I don't know what it's like to be a coal miner, but I'm just going to use this as an analogy, and I don't mean to insult coal miners. But it's like if we were in a cave for 9 months, we needed that summer just to get out to breathe,
Exactly.
and enjoy the sunlight, because we're
Exactly.
so intensely involved for those 9 months, and with all the abuse that comes. But there's always those handful of kids that keep you motivated to go. So that's one thing about teachers. There's something that's going to keep you motivated to go. For me, it was my core group of students that were really motivated about the program, so that kept me going. But it's a lot. It's so heavy and intense. And I told my husband, I said, during the summer, I'm so quick. Like, you asked me something, I was like quick with it. When school started, I barely knew my name. I was so busy and inundated. I was like, wait, what? I just felt like you just get so overwhelmed with things. And it's not just me being who I am, it's most teachers. And I was the what's called the department chairperson. So I heard all this from all the different departments that I managed, and all the teachers, and the ones that had been there to retire, they're just holding out for their retirement at this point, most of them. So it's all because of that low pay. You could get great teachers from the industry into schools if the pay was a lot higher, at least so they can make a middle class, what we call middle class income, which according to the politicians these days are like six figures. Because, I think who said it? Like, I thought the average employee made $120,000, one of those politicians. So yeah, if we can come up to what they think is middle income, we all would be doing great.
I want to cycle back a minute back onto the parents and the whole area of equipping their students, especially if they're in the younger ones. What are your thoughts on equipping them with computers, digital stuff? Because more and more classrooms are going digital, and not every parent can do that.
Okay. Well, I just wrote an article about that. You'll see that on our website, and it says, yeah or nah, cell phones in the classroom. And it all talks about all the electronic devices and things like that. Well, a lot of schools these days are providing them with laptops and iPads. If you didn't know, like, I know the school district I was in, every elementary school kid had an iPad, and every high school student had a MacBook. So they were able to do this through a grant through Apple and a penny tax that they decided to charge the residents of that area, which is brilliant, brilliant. But in addition to that, every student has a cell phone. They all have them. It's very rare to see a student without a cell phone. So this school year, they were planning on seeing how a ban on cell phones would work. Now, when we brought this to the students' attention, of course, they all were like, no, this is that, you can't take my phone from me. What in case of emergency? What will we do? And I always said to them, what do you think we used to do in case of emergency? Did we all just drop and fall out and drop dead? What do you think happened? I said they would call a school and we would manage it accordingly. I said, but I'm not against cell phones per se. And my rule in the classroom was that if you come in before class, you can check your cell phone. In the class, you can check your cell phone. But if I'm talking or lecturing, you may have to put your phone face down and you're not allowed to answer it. But that didn't happen most times. They cannot resist the buzz of the vibration of their phone. It has been compared in studies to being addicted to some sort of drug, and that it provides those same types of endorphins that a drug would provide, dopamine, so that when they get to see something satisfactory on their phone, that dopamine is released. So it's the same type of reaction. They're not at the age from elementary to high school to have self-control. Now, some students are better than the others, but overall, they don't have that self-control. They don't have that willpower or discipline to not look at their phones if it buzzes. There were times when, because they had MacBooks that were provided for them, that I would walk behind a student to see if they're on task, and they would be FaceTiming a student in another classroom.
Oh, wow.
So Yeah, it happened like a good 10 times at least. And I would wave and say, hey, hi, you're about to get them in a lot of trouble, and I can add your name to the referral. Click, they would hang up. So, yeah. So there are pros and cons. So if they took the cell phones away, they were able to control the computers a bit through different software, but they always find a way around it. And they're very brilliant. They're smart students. So cell phone usage definitely is a hindrance. I could tell you there's a direct correlation I found with students who were failing really, really bad, like single-digit numbers to low double-digit numbers, to students who kept their phone in their hand, like glued to their hands. They were the ones that failed the worst. They were so addicted they couldn't get it out of their hands, and they had it constantly glued to them. Those were the ones that I found that would end up with single-digit grades or low double-digit grades. Okay. And while they didn't care, because they were that way in every classroom. And so you give up is what happens after a certain amount of time. And you have those types of grades.
So as the beginning of another school year is going on right now or about to go on, what is your advice to parents when it comes to their children and digital use, not for, I guess, for school and outside of school?
Well, that's where it becomes important to have an open communication line with teachers, because use it to your advantage and do that FaceTiming or Skyping that I said with the teacher to find out if it's a problem, because that should be your first question. If your child has a cell phone, is this cell phone out? Is it a problem? Those are kind of questions you can ask, and they'll be happy to tell you, because I used to get somewhat offended, like if I'm talking to a student and they would be on their phone.
Sure.
So I actually told him, I said, if you come to my desk and you need something and you can't put your phone down, I'm going to pick up my phone and do the same thing back and let you see how rude it is and see if you like it. And it kind of garnered some respect, mutual respect that way, because, I always come in respecting my students, but they don't always know to respect you back. And a lot of times with the students today, which is different from in the past, is that you have to earn your respect today. Whereas before we were told that we had to respect our elders and anyone older than us or in authority. That's not the case today. And it's hard for older people to wrap their heads around that that's not the case today. These students have in their head, and they've changed, that you don't get respect automatically. You have to earn it. And I imagine because of the way things are today, you can't trust every adult. You can't trust every person in authority. So it is an evolution of trust. And we, as teachers, need to understand that no matter how old we are. The older teachers really have more of a difficult time with that. But yes, parents can restrict use of cell phones. And I noticed that when parents would take the cell phone away, it would work for a while, but then they would give it back and the same thing would start up again. So what I did when I had my nephew, he was 15 through 18, came to stay with us. We were his guardians. And he had no discipline whatsoever. So we had to start from scratch. And he would have chores to do in our house. And if he didn't do his chores or his grades failed, I would change the Wi-Fi password. Okay? So I noticed as soon as I changed it, within seconds, he almost jumped the whole flight of steps to come down to find out what happened to the Wi-Fi. Okay? So he only had data that he could use, right? So with his cell phone, I said, okay, you have to turn in your cell phone. So he can't use the data from that. And I would change the Wi-Fi password, and he could not have that until everything was done. And you can do that with grades until the grades come up. If they need the Wi-Fi for schoolwork or something like that, you need to sit with them, make sure that's what they're doing with the Wi-Fi on. And then as soon as they're done, turn it right back off. They will be motivated to have the Wi-Fi on. It's much better than sitting there not talking to your friends and not playing those games online. They really need the Wi-Fi. They really do. Data, once you take the phone, that situation's taken care of. When they come home, check the phone. Now, here's what I do worry about. I have to add this.
Sure.
So today's climate, our children, I feel like sometimes there's a war against children all over the world, really. And our children's safety is at risk. So there's that at-risk part of having a phone that adds that security for your child. I don't think that when you're out and about, they should not have their phone. They really should have their phone. But if you're going to be limiting their phone access, do it when they're in-house safe. Don't do it when they have to go to school. I know that, if you take it from them and they have to go to school and public transportation, they really should have their phone. If you're driving them to school, then there's probably no need. Now here, then you might say, oh, well, look at the kids at Stoneman Douglas School in Parkland, right? They were able to film the whole school shooting. I don't know if I want to see that or not necessarily, if I was a parent in that situation, but those kind of things, they were able to call 911, tell the parents where they were located, if they were okay. God forbid something like that happens again, and we know it will at this point because nothing has changed. There's another reason teachers don't want to be teachers, by the way, because of that. It definitely affected me and made me start thinking of safety and if this is something I want to do. But that's another reason for them to still have their phones, but you can limit it at home. And if there's a problem at the school, you can tell the teacher they have permission to hold on to the phone at the beginning of class and return it to them at the end of class. That's something you can do.
Okay. Bouncing back again, I know another key thing is making sure there is a steadfast bedtime.
I agree with that.
And also limits on how much they can do, like be on the computer, be on their phone. I'm sure you agree with those sort of boundaries.
Right. And they shouldn't be charging their phones in their room only because all those lights, and they'll be up until 11, 12, 1 o'clock in the morning texting friends anyway. All the lights in the room, the blue lights, electronic lights and everything should be covered. They should at the most have a night light. But all of the lights from electronics, they have shown that in science studies that they keep children up. They don't get as deeper sleep as they should have. So all of those things, keep like eye out of what the room looks like when the lights are off. I don't even advocate for children having computers in their room. I think that's too much privacy. I think it should be out in a public area where you can kind of monitor by walking back and forth to see what's going on. There are too many teens meeting people outside of the home and school that they have met online. There's a lot of sex trafficking going on, children disappearing, all types of crazy things in this world right now that having a computer for privacy in your room just isn't warranted anymore.
I know that I can certainly get some feedback with you on this as we go into another school year. And I think this is important from your perspective, not only for our students, but also for our parents. Can you give an overview of how you feel the education system is doing when it comes to serving our future, which is our young people, and also listening to parents?
Oh, okay. Well, as far as listening to parents, that's going to be probably a case-by-case basis depending on the school. If they aren't listening to you as a parent, I would say either join the PTA, whatever type of parenting group they have there, and get into leadership on that board or that PTA, because they should be listening to you. Go to school board meetings. If no one's listening to you, get on the agenda to speak. You have to be proactive. You have to be that advocate for your child. So show up at school board meetings, make sure they know your face, because those people are usually elected. Sometimes they're appointed, but they're usually elected. So they're going to want to get reelected. And then you need to say your point. And sometimes it's even best if you're having an issue to let your child go with you and speak, because they can be more impactful emotionally to the board and create change. Now, that's one thing. That was the first question. I missed that part.
I'm just saying, how do you feel as we're going into another school year that the education system is serving our children?
Well, okay, so let me see how I'm going to put this. All right. I think the educational system was set up for a good intent, right? There's been a lot of systemic racism involved in the setup of schools, down from schools and their funding being based on real estate property values. As we know with the redlining, there's no way that schools in lower income areas, especially Black urban areas, were going to get the funding they needed based on real estate property values. And that's how school systems in most states are set up. So because of that, and then we now have integration, and we just have one Alabama school that just integrated after all of these years, right?
Yes.
Right. Brown versus Education Board of Education now is taking place. So that school is the first time being integrated. So we still have a lot of work to do. However, we are finding, I just published a story about this today, is that schools really aren't serving our Black children well. They get expelled more often. They get suspended more often. They get punished harsher. They're looked at as adults more. The teachers' biases are there. There are not enough Black instructors who are aware of out there, that's pro-Black or Black culture, and infusing that into lesson plans, because we need to kind of know our own history before we know American history. And we're part of American history, but we need to know about our part, and that part's excluded unless you take it in college a lot of times. So there's a lot of issues. There's some reform that needs to be done in almost every school district in the United States. So it really isn't serving our students very well. And that's a reason that so many Black parents now are homeschooling. The number for homeschoolers for Black parents has jumped. And we are one of the biggest groups that are now homeschooling our children. And that's not going to be out there where necessarily you read about it that, oh, wow, I didn't know so-and-so was Black and they're homeschooling. I didn't know that's what's going to happen, or that's been going on. I didn't even know, because it's not going to be on the top of your social feed that, Blacks are homeschooling more. It's not, but that's the statistics right now. We are homeschooling more because we have so many problems in schools with teachers. Teachers are innately biased a lot of times. If you notice that most of the teachers in the United States are white women. Yes. White women. Yep. And whether or not they think they know Black children or not, or that they don't think that they're biased, prejudiced, or some even racist, it's hard not to have those biases. You see it, you've been inundated with it on television. A lot of them go by what they were told by their family. A lot of them go by the behavior in the classroom that they can't understand. I had 2 students that last year that I know for sure were considered behavior problems by white teachers. I never saw them as a Black teacher. I saw them as charismatic, probably too mature for high school, would do excellent at sales. That's what I saw. That was my vision.
Right.
But they were troublemakers to the other white teachers because they didn't understand or see through the fact that they were Black troublemakers. Mm-hmm. They were troublemakers. They were charismatic, and they were just, trying to work the system a little bit because they were so charismatic. But they could sell. I could see them as great salespeople, and that's what I told them. See, a lot of times as teachers, we don't tell them what they could be. We see what we think they are, or they think they are. And I told them, I said, you would make a great salesperson. You're probably too mature for school. You can't stay in your seat, which makes it great for you to be a salesperson.
True.
But you don't have teachers telling students how to take that behavior and turn it into something positive, or how it could be used for something positive. And I think that's really, really important and if you are not biased, you can see through that and see how they can be amazing at whatever it is they want to do.
Yeah, it's a really concerning. One of the things that's happening in Toronto, I see more and more people of color running for trustees.
Yes.
So I think I
highly recommend that.
Yeah, I think it's if you are able, I'd say certainly that's where you certainly can make a difference from a trustee, where people can make a big difference in the trustee perspective. Very, very important, because there are not enough people of color in that arena, let alone principals. And I don't know what it is like in the United States, but here in Canada, it's few and far between. But in more and more trustee elections, you're seeing more and more people of color running.
Right, and I think the same thing with politics. I think a lot of parents, if you see your child is argumentative and they make good arguments, encourage them to go into law, but to be a judge. Don't just settle for being an attorney. Push them to judgeship. My nephew is amazing. Like, some of his arguments, when you get to the point where you're a parent, they're like debating with you, and you're like, because I said so. They had beat you. They beat you in your own argument usually. So
Right.
that means your child is good at debating. They can be in law and they will win. My nephew was so good at it. Sometimes I'll just be like, you know what? That's it. I'm not saying anything else to you because I couldn't argue. He had a good point, but it's not what I wanted him. Oh, I just lost my earpiece. It's not what I wanted him to do. So, as a parent, I was kind of acting as a parent in that situation. I did, I just told him, I said, you know what, you would be a great lawyer. I hope you go into law one day because you'll be amazing. And if you want to do that, I'll highly support you and find your mentor. But we need to encourage more of our children to be judges because that's, again, where you're going to be able to see through the biases that are being presented, save people's lives possibly, and you're going to be able to create change.
And as you're saying that, back on the parent side, I think have create relationships with other parents and the kids are in the same school. I think that's a very important thing.
Now, that's hard to do if you don't know anyone
Sure.
and you're busy and you're a single parent. But, and of course, they don't give out those numbers like that. So
Exactly.
you definitely should be joining whatever
PTA.
parent group there is, going to
PTA.
events if possible, social events, whatever it is. I always tell parents to also be careful, like whoever your child befriends. Make sure you get to know their parents.
Yes.
I'm not one for sleepovers or anything like that because of just the climate today, but you should know the child's parents and be friendly with them. If they are people that you're not too feeling great about, just keep eye on the friend. And sometimes you can make a difference in that child's life if they're not corrupting your own child. I had that situation where I had to end a friendship with my daughter and her friend because I found out that the friend was trying to get her to do some things and my daughter was like, no, my mom's crazy. She will get you.
Yes.
So,
there you go.
So, it's not bad for your team to think you're a little crazy. So that might keep them in check. But yeah, sometimes you may actually be able to enrich that child's life if their parents aren't there for them like that. And you might get a feeling that, these parents are a little, maybe they shouldn't be parents.
Yeah.
And sometimes that happens. And these kids will attach to your family. So if that's the case, we took this girl before I found out how she was corrupting my daughter. We would take her everywhere with us. Like she was our daughter. And we were going to even adopt her if her grandmother let us. But then I found out all the stuff she was doing. And I was like, okay, no, I don't want that in my house. So that's what happened.
Just like know your kids' friends and know their not only know their friends, know their parents' friends. They're the friends,
right.
The friends' parents. Sorry, as I was saying.
And if they hang out at that friend's house, you need to know everyone who lives in that house.
Exactly. Well, I
start doing some checks.
Yeah, exactly. Exactly. Anything else you want to add before we let you go? Because I know you've got some stuff before you call it a day today.
Yeah, I'm still laying out articles and things like that. But parents, a lot of schools now are requiring see-through backpacks, right? How fun are those? Not fun at all. So, because you have girls who have to carry like hygiene types of things, and you don't want people seeing through your bag if you have something valuable like your phone. You don't want people to know where you keep it in your bag. So if you have to get one of those clear backpacks, go get it. But buy like a pouch, like a makeup case type pouch that you can keep private things in or your phone in or something like that zips so that even though it's in your pouch, it's hidden in that actual pouch. A lot of people put the students I saw, they were really creative. They'll put a bag inside of their clear bags so you can't see, what's in the bag. A big, like another backpack in the clear backpack. But you can do things like put a sweater in there and wrap it around your things so that people can't see what's in it. But yes, clear backpacks are just a band-aid to the actual solution, and we all know that. But if you have to do that, don't let your child get embarrassed. Don't let their things get stolen. Find a little pouch that you can put their things in, even if it's a pencil case.
Excellent. Well, thank you as always for taking time out of your positive, productive schedule. No, your positive, productive, award-winning schedule to share with us. If people want to find out about everything Successful Black Parenting Magazine is doing? Where can they go?
They can go to our website at successfulblackparenting.com. We're on social media at Black Parenting One on Twitter, Instagram, Facebook. You can find us there. And please comment back. We'd love to hear back from you. I will answer tweets, posts, whatever it is you want to know about. We always are looking for writers that are parents or in the early childhood field. So if you're looking to write and get published, just hit us up. Look at our writer's guidelines at the top of our website. We would love to have your stories. We also have an editorial calendar. You can always see what topics we're talking about that month if you want to contribute to that topic by the cover that's on our webpage. Look for the magazine cover.
Wonderful. It's Dr. Vibe here, host and producer of the award-winning Dr. Vibe show, the home of Epic Conversations. I'm the host of Epic Conversations. If you want to watch replays of conversations like this, you're at the right place. Just go to YouTube and put in the search engine _VIBE_SHOW. If you want, and you'll catch about 470 replays, coming close to the 500 mark. If you want to catch if you want to listen, to any replays of my Epic Conversations, go to my website, the DRVIBESHOW, Apple Podcasts, iHeartRadio, TuneIn Radio, Google Play Music, Stitcher Radio, also Amazon Alexa. You can check out the Dr. Vibe show on Amazon Alexa. Selected audio replays are at thegoodmanproject.com and WJMS Radio out of New York City. Brand ambassador for the only online magazine dedicated to African Americans in food, wine, and travel. The name of the magazine is Cuisine Noir Magazine. The website address is Cuisine Noir Mag. I also am an empowerment coach, certified. If you want some empowerment coaching, reach out to me on Twitter at DRVIBESHOW. Email dr.vibe at the drvibeshow.com. Or go to my website, go to the top, click on Contact Dr. Vibe Show. You can email me from there. You can leave an audio message, send me a video message. If you're an entrepreneur or business and you'd like to elevate your product, service, or anything else, I operate a service called Getting Media Coverage, where I help businesses and entrepreneurs get media promotion. Upcoming engagements. Niagara Falls, Ontario, I'm going to be speaking there September 8th at the Truth Conference. And then on November 17th and 18th, I'll be the Master of Ceremonies for a 2-day event called the Men and Women's Conference on Masculinity. I will be emceeing that event. So that's everything that's going on right now. Last 3 things I'd like to say. Live your life as a dream. If you can dream it, you can make it. Next up, sometimes you have to get smaller to get stronger. And finally, block assumptions. I'd like to thank everyone who either listened to this or watch this live or will listen to this on a replay or watch this on the replay. God bless. Peace be well. Keep the faith. And as they say, where I have heritage from, walk good. Good night, everybody.
Good night.